Hi, I'm Lara O'Reilly, Senior Editor at Business Insider. I'm here at the Consumer Electronics Show with Colin Kinsella, who is CEO of Havas Media in North America. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So let's have a chat about why you're here. What have you been up to this morning, and what does CES kind of mean for you?
Well, I like to think of CES as the modern day kind of World's Fair.
Okay.
Everybody comes to a place now once a year to kind of see what's new. See what manufacturers are thinking about, what marketers are thinking about, where those two kind of might intertwine. We have a lot of clients that come to kind of feel inspired, if you will. I talk a lot about the sense of, we start our year together with our clients in an atmosphere that's all about creativity, all about technology, all about what's possible. And I think that's a really interesting place to start with our clients at the beginning of the year. So they are here as well to kind of look and listen and learn and not really try to figure out what they're going to do tomorrow, but maybe what they might do in a couple of years, and how a lot of things might start melding together that feel disparate now but might come together long term. So really just a very creatively oriented start to the year.
So if we were going to put kind of marketers in a homogenous group for a second, what kind of things do marketers get excited about when you're taking them around the floors or you're talking to them about what you saw at CES? Is it the kind of the robots and the gadgets and the cars, or is it the ad tech stuff, or the things that they can more easily apply to their everyday? What kind of things do they seem to get excited by?
Well, they don't really get excited about the ad tech stuff,
it's such a shame.
Even though they know that that's what they'll probably be leveraging, kind of midterm. Everybody gets excited by the TVs.
Just big TVs?
They're just big TVs, how thin they are,
Yeah.
OLED screens, how bright and beautiful they are. People really get interested in what's happening with drones, and maybe how they might be able to figure out how to leverage drones from a marketing perspective. I think they get really interested in just what's happening. Like Panasonic's got this new flexible battery, which seems really interesting.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of little pieces that there's the eye candy, if you will, that people get excited about short term. And then long term, I think as they look at all these different things together, I think when they go back to the office, they just start thinking a little bit more out of the box. Try this, maybe we'll think about how we might incorporate some new kind of technology.
And now your business has become far more than just buying media for clients. You advise them and counsel them on how to use technology. So how do you choose kind of what to make bets on, what's a fad, what isn't, and how do you kind of measure that success? So if you were talking about drones, for example, and how you could apply that to marketing, what would you do to say, right, this company works, we're going to introduce our clients to this company, and then this proves the success of that endeavor?
Right, well, it all has to fit. But from a drone perspective, you could see putting a brand on a drone, if that brand had something to do with either fast delivery or seamless delivery, or knew what you wanted in advance or something of that nature. How you might use Google Home, how you might start doing a lot of your search results in make them audio friendly, so then people can find out things about you just by talking to and saying the two words, "Okay, Google." So it's a whole bunch of different things, and there isn't kind of one way or another. I think about it as like 80% of a budget for a client is what we know works, and maybe 15% is some experimental, and another 5% is really out there.
Right.
And what is really in 2 years and 3 years. And how do we get experience with it, or do we not need to get experience with it and we'll just pick it up as a fast follower?
And what kind of interesting things are coming down the line in kind of 2 to 3 years that you're excited by?
Well, I think there's been this promise of programmatic for us, as a real issue.
Programmatic's here, though.
Well, it's here, but it's interesting that it doesn't scale. I still, for a certain amount of dollars being spent, I need a person to be able to manage that campaign. And then if you then add money to it, or budget to it, I need another person. And if you add more budget, I need another person.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound to me like programmatic.
No, manual,
right,
maybe.
It seems like there's a limit to it. And we have found that if you don't have a person on it, the campaigns get a little out of control. You might spend too much or spend too little, or hit the wrong targets, et cetera. So there's a lot still for us to do in the automation of our business and then the effectiveness of our campaigns for our clients. So in the near term, we're spending a lot of time trying to figure out how to get there.
Yeah.
And coming to CES, you start to see what some of the new technologies might be able to provide in that area.
But is that, you surely always need there to be someone to overlook and manage the systems. It can't, media spend can't all be automated, surely.
Right, but
or can it be? Is that
no,
what you're suggesting?
I don't think it can be, but I guess I need to expand my mind a little bit more to try to figure out how do we get more efficient. How do you? I mean, we still have a lot of people filling out reporting for clients, and reporting should be, very much like a turnkey system.
Right,
But
it should just be automatic.
But the QA control that you need to put into it to get the numbers correct, so that the measurement ends up being correct, is really still very manually oriented. And so we need to push harder in those areas, at least from a kind of business processes perspective, for us to really accelerate with our clients.
And so how do you go down that line? What do you do? Because I imagine if you're at something like CES and an ad tech vendor sees your name on a party invite or whatever, you're getting pitches left, right and centre. So how do you kind of get through the noise and work out what's going to work and what isn't?
Well, I've worked at different agencies, so I've had a chance to see what other agencies are doing.
Okay.
I get a chance to then see, obviously, what we're doing and what vendors are in the space and who really is producing something that's real as opposed to the hope and the dream.
Yeah.
And then you have to figure out, at some point you have to go for the hope and the dream, and who has the backing that you can really leverage, that they're going to be in it for the long term. Because it's not an easy thing to solve, and so you need a company that has some depth and some resources that can help you get there.
And so all your competitors kind of market themselves as being, helping clients with digital transformation, or helping with technology, or investing in technology to be able, help marketers get more bang for their buck. What is it that Havas does in the area of technology and kind of innovation that nobody else in your peer set does?
So we do something I think is very interesting and very differentiating. We have organized ourselves in a way that no other holding company has organized themselves. We call it villages. But it really feels to me like there's three things you have to get right when you're in our business. One is how you are structured. So how do people that understand data and technology and content and media and social and mobile, how do they come together to put the right strategy in place for a client, and to have the right people together that understand how to work together, know the pros and cons, et cetera, of all the various elements, and put programs in the market that have an effect. And then you need a whole notion around what I would call platforms. But it's like, what's your data platform? What's your technology platform? What are you doing in social? What are you doing for mobile platforms? What are you doing in cognitive? You need like a series of platforms that you can really not necessarily need to make better every single year, but get people more familiar with it so that they can work better together on a particular platform. And then the third area that we really concentrate in is outcomes, because we're not in the business of just doing a process. We're in the business of helping clients drive sales. And the sales is all that matters. And so if we can keep it simple in this way, I think we're going to be very successful, and we already have been very successful. We've done a lot of really interesting things in the last year. They're starting to prove, starting to bear some fruit.
Like, can you elaborate?
Well,
can you name?
We've won a lot of really interesting clients like TrackPhone and TD Bank and Swarovski and some health clients in the last 8 months. And a lot of that is based on putting together and really executing on the village concept.
Sure. Let's talk about Google and Facebook. Everyone talks about the kind of digital duopoly, and someone who's quite famous in your competitor set often describes kind of Google as the frenemy.
Yes.
So you work with them, but then they're also potentially taking away your business as well by going to clients direct and taking out some of the processes. How would you describe your relationships with those two? What could be better? What could be worse?
Well, I don't know. I don't think about it as what could be better, what could be worse. I think our relationships with them are phenomenal. I think it's great to have competitors in the marketplace that are pushing clients. It pushes us as well, and we push them as we push clients. And if we're all working together for the same end result, because if you talk to Facebook, they want to drive client sales. If you talk to Google, they want to drive client sales. Then you talk to us, we want to drive client sales. So we all have the same end goal, So we don't really compete. I think that's why Martin calls it frenemies.
Yeah.
We kind of compete, but not really, because we're all pushing for that client to drive their business and to find innovative ways to drive their business.
Yeah.
And they do have a duopoly, and I think the difficulty for a lot of clients, and us included, is that we want to be the impartial support system and strategic leaders for our clients. And the data that Facebook has and the data that Google has, it's behind a walled garden. And so we need to figure out how do you build bridges into
Right.
those walled gardens.
But it's behind a walled garden for a reason. They
Yes.
have kind of very important personal data about their users that they don't want to leak.
Right. But there's things that we can leverage and that the clients could start to leverage on their own without always having to go back to Google or Facebook.
Right.
And that they can learn and get smarter as an organization and start to leverage some of their own assets internally. So it's a struggle, but I think overall we're all heading in the same direction.
Sure. And do you think, because there is quite a chasm if you look at kind of the revenue they earn or the amount that's spent on those platforms between, Google number one, Facebook number two, and then there's kind of like a long drop before you get to the next kind of big digital platform
Right.
in AOL, in Yahoo, what will be Yahoo, AOL, we hope will happen at some point this year. Do you think this year we might see the rise of a kind of viable third player to take on that duopoly?
Well, I think
it might not be in Verizon, it could be someone else, could be a Snapchat.
Right, I for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, this industry is known for new, anything that is new, interesting, that really works and connects consumers to brands. They will do well. Snapchat will do incredibly well.
Yeah.
Yahoo, AOL, I think will do incredibly well. They've got unbelievable amount of assets. People, 1 billion some odd users. They have real scale. They've got phenomenal content. They have people that want to go to their sites. I think that will always happen, and there will be new ones.
Yeah.
All the time.
So let's talk then. If we were to repeat this interview at CES in 5 years' time, what do you think are going to be the kind of, will we be talking about Google and Facebook then? Will we be talking about drones? What kind of things do you think are still going to be top of mind, and what new things are you looking towards
Well,
in the
I
future?
think the whole voice-activated search is going to be, will probably
Yeah.
not be a big thing then, but I think it's really going to be a game changer.
I mean, Alexa is everywhere this year.
And I just got Google Home.
Yeah.
And I think it's new, so we were on it an incredible amount, but it was really fascinating how quickly putting in a search query on your phone was now work.
Yeah.
And this was easy.
Yeah.
And before this was magic, doing a Google search was magic. Now it's like we used to think that Google Glasses, that this, looking at our watch was going to be considered, I can't believe we used to do that. And then the Google Glasses didn't really take off.
Is that an Apple Watch there? Are you still using one?
Yes.
So
Still
you're
using one.
an early adopter?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I mean, I bought this, when it first came out.
Yeah.
But mostly just to see what it was all about.
Yeah.
And I have found that it tells time.
That's its most useful asset. It's good to know. So go back to Google Home really quickly. So how do you think, let's go back to kind of the way in which marketers are utilizing technology.
Yeah.
How can they get involved? Because the problem with voice-activated search is that you can't put ads next to it. So how are marketers going to get involved in that kind of voice-activated space?
I'm sure we will figure that out. I think we've always proven that if there is a way to connect a brand and a brand's ability, desire to want to sell something, you could imagine if you said, okay, Google, and you asked it a question, that if there was two options, that it might start giving you those two options. One is branded, one is unbranded, something of that nature.
Oh, I see. So the bidding process could take place
I would think so.
Where's the nearest hamburger restaurant or whatever. And
right, or what's the best frozen pizza?
Yeah.
That somebody is going to have to determine what comes back.
Yeah.
And the brands that are quickest or most clever or whatever it ends up being that would trigger that algorithm, you'd end up paying to have the first response.
So what's next for you at CES then, Colin? What are you off to now, and what are you doing for the rest of the week?
We had our kickoff last night with, we had Andre Agassi come. I thought it was a great evening. He talked about his new content play called Unscripted, so that was interesting. After this, I'm going to meetings with partners because so much of this isn't just our clients and our own talent, but it's also our partners.
Sure.
And meeting with our partners. And you think about CES, the creativity that is within this first week, it permeates the whole ecosystem for all the agencies and all the partners and all the clients. And so it's a really great place. So we all have a series of meetings. I think this is much more meeting oriented.
Yeah.
And because all the partners are like you're one after another, you start to get consistency in what the partners are telling everybody else and where they're heading as companies and
Sure.
how we can tap into that.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time out to join us in C Space. It's been great having you here, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.